Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the dual-wielding Undisputed WereBear. Now we were going to try this as a low-life WereBear, but unfortunately Undisputed's leech can't be cancelled by Boulder Fist, so we couldn't run a low-life build, so we'll come up with a different build for the low-life WereBear. But for the full-life leeching WereBear, this one is great, and it has a lot of leech because you're hitting so much harder because you're wearing two Undisputed, and because of that you have so much melee physical damage, so much more than you could get with just the two-handed weapon, that you can hit much harder. And because of the new interaction with Thorn Totem and the fact that it gives you unlimited mana basically as long as you have at least one idol on that procs it, you don't have to worry about having any mana efficiency. So we don't need to run Entangling Roots for mana efficiency, we don't have to worry about using all of our skills. You're just going to have full mana basically with anything you do now as a Primalist, but with WereBear and Spriggan especially, you don't have to worry about trying to figure out a way to get like 100% crit or to get your mana refunded or any of that. It just opened up a lot of options. So you could rearrange the points, and now we get a lot more damage out of things. So we're going to get more damage out of the skill tree of Swipe, we're going to get more damage, 100% more damage against stunned enemies, and we're going to have Charge from WereBear that's going to have 100% chance to stun, which is going to lead to a lot of damage and a lot of interactions that allow you to be really tanky. For instance, when we go up against the Emperor, because we could stun it every 2 seconds when we charge, and we're doing extra damage when we stun it, we were able to kill him without him getting off a single attack. So it's a little bit broken. I'm sure some changes will come, but for now, enjoy this two-handed, undisputed, badass WereBear. For skills, we're running Summon Thorn Totem, Ice Thorns, Swipe, WereBear Form, and Entangling Roots. For Summon Thorn Totem, we're expecting to summon Thorn Totem because it's going to give you all the mana generation that you need. With its new ability, Memories of Edera, they give you mana gain per totem death or totem unsummon. What it does is it allows you to get just a lot of mana, and when you proc Thorn Totems on hit from the idol, you proc it for free. So this is just free mana, and since you can proc it from any hit you do, it doesn't matter whether you're in WereBear form or not, it doesn't matter if Thorn Totem is on your skill bar or not, it's going to allow you to just get all the mana that you'll ever need, so you don't have to worry about getting it from any other source. For this setup, we want to summon as many of them as possible, so that when they do proc, we get a lot more mana back. So they changed some of these around, so we'll go over them a little bit more in detail. We have 4 points in Forested Expanse. This gives you +4 maximum Thorn Totems, so you could now have 5 total. 3 points in Eternal Forest to increase the duration. This duration is not as long as it used to be. It used to be 3 seconds per point. Now it's only 1 second per point, but you do get 15% additional health for each point that's on there, and it's multiplicative health, so your Thorn Totems will have more survivability. Of course, you don't care about that. You want them to die because every time they die you get mana. And 1 point in Groove Mine, this one also changed a little bit. It now takes away a maximum Thorn Totem, so instead of being able to get 5, you're only allowed to get 4 now. So you'll be able to get 4 times the 12 mana. You'll be able to get 48 mana back whenever you proc Thorn Totems and they disappear. This also increases the mana cost per additional totem, which can make the cost of Thorn Totem actually skyrocket out of control. If you're not proccing this through idols, taking this will almost guarantee that with the maximum amount of Thorn Totems, you're not going to be able to cast it. It's like 113 mana or 114 mana. I was trying to run it the other day and it was so expensive, it was ridiculous. However, you can get some mana efficiency. We have 2 points in Teutonic Wisdom, which you don't need for this, but you do need it to unlock the poison side. However, if you don't even want to go this side, anything else you want to do with the points you can do. You just need these 4 top nodes for the mana gain. After that, you can put the points anywhere that you want. So we have 3 points in Memories of Edera, the 2 points in Teutonic Wisdom, 3 points in Venom-Tipped Thorns, 3 points in Lasting Affliction, and 1 point in Rotten Core. Again, from Teutonic Wisdom all the way over here on the right side, these points can go anywhere else. Feel free to be creative and mix and match it around and try different things. For Ice Thorns, we have Ice Thorns set up so that when we get hit, because you can't cast this yourself when you're in WereBear form, as you'll have a different set of skills. However, you can set this up so that when you get hit, there's a chance to proc it, and then when it goes off, it can hit enemies, and those hits have a chance to proc the Thorn Totem to give you mana back. So this is just a way to get in more hits. It also gives you some defense. We have 3 points in Dagger Thorns, 2 points in Bramble Armor gives it a 20% chance when you get hit to proc Ice Thorns, 4 points in Spell Thorns gives it another 20% chance, so there's a 40% chance every time that you get hit, you'll proc Ice Thorns, and the benefit of that is you'll get some added armor, and there's going to be a chance to recast it to proc it again, but it's mostly just so that you can get extra hits out. We have 1 point in Anemophily, 1 point in Thorn Shield. So now when you proc it, it now forms a shield around you for 1 second, giving you 40 armor, and then it releases and shoots out the thorns. We have 4 points in Bulb Shield. This has a recast chance, so when you get hit, there's a 40% chance that it'll proc Ice Thorns. When Ice Thorns does get procced, there's then a 40% chance it'll get procced basically a second time. It'll recast, you'll get a double cast of it. So that's roughly 40% of 40% is, what is that, like 10% of it, or it's almost 20%. So you have about 60% of the time you're going to have Ice Thorns up and going when you get hit, on average. And then we have 5 points in Bark Shield for an additional 100 armor, so you actually get 140 armor for that 1 second shield that you have. And that's all of our points. You can mix and match these a little bit. If you don't need the armor, you can actually go to the right side because you will have totems and get a higher chance to cast one hit. So with these 5 points, you can actually get 3 points in here so that you'll have another 15% chance when hit, as long as you have 2 or more active totems, which if you have Thorn totems out, you will have them. Which means you can actually get up to a 70% chance when hit to have it procced if you move more points over here, and then you have the 40% chance to recast. For Swipe, Swipe is your main damaging skill. Swipe is something you get to use when you're in WereBear form. It does use this skill tree, so we have it set up to try and get as much damage with as much attack speed as possible out of it. Now, we're wearing 2 Undisputed items for the weapons, and since we're dual wielding and since those don't have crit, you're not going to have 100% crit. It's almost impossible to get to 100% crit because you just have no added base crit. So we're not too worried about getting into the crit multiplier or the crit. What we wanted was the more damage out of it, and that's called Trapper. With 3 points in it, you get 60% more damage against slowed enemies. And since we're wearing the Viper Tail, we have a chance to slow. You can get up to, I believe, a 60% or a 70% chance. We have a 56% chance on this build, which means after 2 hits, you're going to probably have slow on the enemy, or should have slow on the enemy on average, and then you're going to be dealing 60% more damage. We have 1 point in Coaling for a 7% kill threshold, 4 points in Wingarian Reach so that we have 20% more multiplicative hit damage in a 100% larger area. 5 points in Way of the Hunt for survivability. If you want to go more critical strike chance, just take it out of here, but you get 25% more hit damage and 10% health leech. 4 points in Aspect of the Panther so that you get more increased damage per stack, and you can have up to 8 maximum stacks of Aspect of the Panther. At that point, you'll have 80% increased damage. 1 point in Feline Hunter for that 15% global attack speed, 2 points in Maul for 40% global melee damage, and that's going to tap it out. Like I said, you can remove 3 of these points and put it into critical strike chance if you want. If you don't want the 40% global melee damage, you can put that into the crit multi. You can move some points around. If you don't want the area, again, you can go and max out this bottom right side. That'll give you, your crit multi, and your crit chance is definitely going to give you some more damage as well. For WereBear form, we have WereBear form set up so that we'll be casting Entangling Roots when we war, and we have as much damage as possible as we can get out of it. No, we don't really care about defense. We didn't put any points in your Saint Heart. We just don't even care about the defense, especially since it's only armor that it's giving you, which is only going to be a little bit of damage reduction. So we have 3 points in Razor Claws so that we have a chance to bleed, 1 point in Ice Bite so that every time you use Ravage, you'll automatically cast Ice Thorns, and because we don't worry about mana, we're going to have Ravage, Charge, War, we're going to have all of it on autocast so that it's always going off as much as possible because we just don't care about the mana cost, and you're not going to get knocked out of WereBear form. We have 1 point in Wisdom Claws for increased melee damage based on spell damage, 1 point in Starlight for increased critical strike chance based on spell damage as well. This is why we'll be stacking a lot of spell damage when we get into the gear section and the idle section, because you'll probably ask why so much spell damage for a melee werebear. It's because of these two nodes. Basically 1% spell damage equals 1% more melee damage and 1% more crit chance, which is huge. 1 point in Intimidating War so that we apply Frowdy stacks on the enemies inflicted. 2 points in Iron Hide so that we gain health when we war. 1 point in Woodland Bear so that we now cast Entangling Roots, which does use the Entangling Roots skill tree. This adds 15 mana cost to war, but like I said, mana cost is not an issue with this build. You can do whatever you want. Now, with 4 points in Enrage, if you're doing a low life werebear, this increases your damage significantly. However, like I said in the intro, we cannot run low life with undisputed weapons. However, when we try some crafted items later, we are going to do a low life version of this and take advantage of this node. We have 4 points in Rip and Tear. We do not have a point in Unnerving Blow because we don't care about the mana being refunded. You just don't worry about mana, so this is new. Almost all WereBear forms before had this taken. You no longer have to take it. We have 2 points in Hightail for 100% cooldown on charge, 1 point in Overwhelm. Most people didn't take this because that mana cost just made charge too expensive, but now that you're not worried about mana costs, go ahead and throw this on. You now have a guaranteed chance to stun enemies that are hit with charge. What's nice about that is the fact that you then with 2 points in Skull Crush do 100% more damage against stunned enemies, and this is where a huge part of your damage comes from. You now deal double damage against stunned enemies. Like, that's crazy. And then we have 1 point in Pummel so that we have 3 added melee physical damage. This is doubled for Ravage. So again, with the skill tree changes that have come, with the fact that totems can now give you unlimited mana, as long as that stays a thing, this is definitely going to change the way that you can, put DPS out with the werebear. He is a lot more DPS heavy. We used to be able to crit for like 4 or 5k against enemies. Now we can crit from 10 to 20k. If you hit a stunned enemy, depending on the resistances, you're going to do from 10 to 20,000 damage on a crit, which is 3 to 4 times as much damage as we were doing before, and you're leeching that. And that's because you can dual wield. You have a lot more melee physical damage from the 2 uniques, and now you have that 100% more damage against stunned enemies. So those two things together just equals a lot more damage. For Entangling Roots, we have this, you can basically set it up however you want. The only thing you really need is the 90% damage increase. After that, set it up however you want. You can set it up for damage, you can set it up for mana back. Again, you don't need the mana back, so it's not a big deal. But however you want to set it up, for healing, for damage, for poison, for bleed, for whatever, doesn't even matter. You can even set it up to help with a companion and run a solo companion instead of like Ice Thorns. However, here we have 3 points in Imbued Sap for 90% increased damage. This does affect you when you're standing in it. 3 points in Grove Master for 90% increased area. 1 point in Reclamation. 5 points in Lasting Briar to increase the duration to the max. 5 points in Nourish to be healed for 50 health. This is increased by healing effectiveness, and that's 50 health per patch that you're in. 1 point in Roots of Lap will now have 3 patches for Entangling Roots. This is a little bit bugged. It actually does like anywhere from 4 to 6, so definitely worth the 1 point. 1 point in Bountiful Harvest to cast Healing Nova at the end of its duration, and 1 point in Mana Bloom to get 1 mana back per patch that you're standing in. Again, you don't need this. Feel free to throw this point somewhere else. The mana is not a problem with this build. For passives, we have 28 points in the Primalist base class, with 2 points in Gift of the Wilderness, 8 points in Natural Attunement, 1 point in Harmony of Blades that you can now dual wield an axe or a sword in offhand, which opened up the option to dual wield, the Undisputed, which was something that I've always wanted to do since I heard dual wielding is coming, because it offers so much melee physical damage, and believe me, this character is not going to be the only one doing it. You can probably do it as Beastmaster, we're going to have a few builds based around it. 5 points in Hunter's Restoration for that 10% increased health. We also get 40 health restored every 3 seconds on the next hit that we do. 1 point in Primal Strength, 6 points in Survival of the Pack, and pretty much ignore this. We have 5 points in Berserker. This is because we were trying to run a low life with the build. However, We're not doing that anymore. You can leave the 5 points here. There still are times where your health will go down, and when it's down, you'll take less damage, and you'll deal 100% more damage, which is huge. So if you want to leave it in there, it's always good, because that 100% more damage will give you way more leech, and you'll be taking less damage. So this does increase your survivability. However, you're not utilizing it 100% of the time like you would in a low life build. So feel free to change it out if you want. I left it in for this build. It worked out alright. It was cool to watch when my health did go down a bit, that if you went into that below 35% range at the high waves in the arena, you suddenly just started dealing massive amounts of damage and leached back right away. We have 25 points in the Beastmaster. I believe we actually have 26, but it stops counting at 25. We have 2 points in Ursane Strength, 8 points in Savagery, 5 points in Boarheart, 5 points in Porcine Constitution, 1 point in Primal Strength, and 5 points in Axe and Claw. We have 10 points in the Shaman with 4 points in Shamanic Infusion, 1 point in Silent Protector, and 5 points in Teutomic Fury. 47 points in the Master Druid with 10 points in Barkskin, 4 points in Woodlore, 8 points in Soul's Attendant, 8 points in Spirit Claws, 10 points in Hideskin, and 7 points in Ursane Mole. For items, we're wearing 3 different types of idols, but you want to make sure that you have at least one idol that has a % chance on hit to summon a Thorn Totem. Ours has a suffix of increased spell damage with an active totem, so that helps our melee damage and our crit chance, so this is one of the better synergies that you can have. But you can also opt, there's some other options, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but anything that helps your spell damage or increases your damage. I think there's damage while transformed, or physical damage while transformed. You can throw some of those in there as well. If you're having mana issues because you're not proccing the Thorn Totem enough, I didn't have any on this one with only an 8% chance, you can throw on more than one of these idols. If one's not working, 2 should do it. If for some reason 2's not doing it, like you don't have Ice Thorns or something where you're not getting as many hits out, you can do 3 or 4 if you really have to, but you're going to lose out on some other benefits. Our other benefits is we have 1 health idol to increase our health. And then for the 1x3s, we have % spell damage while transformed, and spell damage if we have an active totem. Those are kind of more rare. I've only had a handful of them in the entire time I played that are actually good rolled, but those are the best ones that you can put on here, because that percentage is going to be both melee damage and crit chance. So like this idol right here gives us 72% more crit chance and 72% more damage, or melee damage, which is really nice. For uniques, we are wearing 3 uniques. 2 of them are the same. We have the Undisputed one-handed axe, which we can wear in the on-hand. Now this comes with bleed chance. It comes with 52 melee physical damage and added 46 in the offset, which can roll. It also comes with melee attack speed. It also comes with overkill damage, leeches health, which is huge because you're doing massive amounts of damage, so you're leeching a lot of that. You also get 10% increased physical damage for each recent hit against melee hits against a bleeding enemy, and because we're wearing 2 of them, it does stack. You do get 20% increased, up to 400% for wearing 2 of them. For our other one, we have an added 46 on this as well. We have 13.9% of overkill leech. I think you can get up to 14%. You can get up to 27% melee attack speed and up to 50 added melee physical damage, which is huge. That means between the 2 of them, you can get up to 100 added melee physical damage. You could not get that on a 2-hander. So you can have, almost 60 more melee physical damage between these 2 items flat than you could with a 2-handed Savna or something that you went with like crit. For our Viper Tail, we have chance to poison, slow, melee attack speed, and dodge rating. The reason that we wear this is the only source for us to get chance to slow on hit. Because we're wearing 2 uniques, we couldn't craft it on our weapons. So the Viper Tail is important because you get 60% more damage against slowed enemies, so you do want to have the Viper Tail on for a chance to slow. If there's another unique out there that you can wear in a different slot that gives you a chance to slow, I can't think of any off the top of my head, feel free to wear that as well. For our chest, we have increased melee damage while transformed and increased spell damage while transformed, and again, that spell damage is actually 80% crit chance and 80% more melee damage. It gives even more than the melee damage, although they roll the same, we just have a better roll on the spell damage. We also have Vitality and Attunement. For the Helm, we have Attunement, we have shared spell damage and increased spell damage while transformed. For the Jade Amulet, we have spell damage, physical damage, chance to shred armor, and flat health. For the rings, we have spell damage and attunement, health, elemental resist. We have that same thing on both the rings. For the gloves, we're wearing the soul embraces with increased melee attack speed, attunement, hybrid, and flat health. For the boots, we have attunement, vitality, hybrid health, and increased movement speed. And for the radiant crest, we have the critical strike multiplier with spell damage, attunement, health, and elemental resist. One thing to note that I did mention earlier is the boulder fists, which are supposed to stop you from leeching, do not work with the leech that you get from Undisputed. It's supposed to work, but it doesn't right now. It's a bug. Once it does, this will be the perfect low life version to do, and we'll put it in Zanglius and Last Steps of the Living. It was something I was trying earlier. That's how we found out that you're still leeching. What was happening was you were dealing massive damage because you had no life, but as soon as you killed something, your life was instantly full, and then you didn't deal the damage anymore. So it didn't work out super well. Alright, for the character sheet, you can see that we only have elemental resist cap. We don't have the other ones. We were still able to push over 200 waves really easily, and you clear things incredibly fast. You can still face tank Lagon's beam, you can face tank anything that you want, and again with that stun chance that you have, especially with charge, you're running into things, stunning them, and killing them basically before they even get a chance to attack you. We have 20% armor, no dodge, no block, and then for damages we have 680% melee damage, and 220% critical strike multiplier. Our crit chance is only 37%. That's because if we had another source of base crit chance, we would get capped out towards 100. Now this doesn't take in when you charge that you get 100% more crit chance. You can also get more crit chance when you deal a crit from ferocity inside the passive tree, and you can also get up to I think it's 100 or 200% crit chance inside the swipe tree if you decide to go that route. So you can get this much closer to about 50 to 60% crit chance without getting any more base crit, but that's about as high as it's going to go. We have a lot of spell damage, and getting more than that's going to be much hard because we put it on basically everything that we can. For the skill rotation and how to actually do this build, I put Ravage, Charge, and War all on autocast because I want them going off as much as possible. And you used to not be able to do this. Like War costs 10 mana, Charge costs 4, and Ravage costs 2, so you would be spending 16 mana every few seconds, and on top of Swipe costing 2, that meant that you were going to use all your mana up right away. But now that we don't have to do that and we can just swipe away, you can see how my mana, like normally, it would be going down. But then the moment that the Thorn Totems get procced, your mana is back to full. So you can literally just sit here, keep attacking. You have Entangling Roots. You're doing Ravage, which is going to do, it applies Stagger and lets you do more damage. You charge in and get your stun in, which is going to let you do more damage. And as you can see on the training dummy, we're doing up to like 60, almost 70k crits. I don't know if stun actually applies to the training dummy so that we get the 100% more, but you're getting crazy amounts of damage and you're clearing through mobs incredibly fast. Alright, let's go ahead and get into some more gameplay.